I want to welcome all our viewers across the nations of the earth to another episode of Prophetic Journey today. Our guest on the program with us today is the presiding bishop of Champions Royal House, the Solid Rock Faith Ministry International, based in Jos. It's in person of Bishop Dr. Dele Olukotun. You're welcome, sir, to this program.
Thank you so much, Apostle. God bless you. And then others who are joining us, I want to sincerely welcome you to this this episode. And I know that God is about to do something also in someone's life. And I know it must be you. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. As a way of intro, the program today is Prophetic Journey. And every being created by God has a prophetic journey to make on earth. In essence, there is a divine script that has been written by God concerning individual, which they have to play out on earth here. Jesus Christ shows us a typical example of this in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 6 to I read, in burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast no pleasure. Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me to do thy will, O God. There was a divine script written by God concerning Jesus Christ. And when he came to this world, he understood this clearly. And he played out this divine script. That is what exactly we are reading here. So every individual created by God has a divine script to play out on earth here. Now, ability to play out this divine script depends on the relationship which such a person has with God. So that is just a way of an intro. Sir, can you briefly tell us about your background?
Well, thank you so much. Just like you rightly said, when we talk about prophetic journey, as a matter of fact, that is the main journey for every human, every man on earth. And as a matter of fact, until you are connected to this journey, you are not starting at all. So, to the glory of God, just like according to your question, I'm Bishop Dr. Dele Olukotun. And I came up from a very, very humble background. To the glory of God, I'm the second born and the first son of my parents, of my father and my mother. And born on the 6th of October 1959, to the glory of God. And well, in a nutshell, that is just everything about me. And I'm from Ekiti State. I'm from Irele Ekiti, in a Kole local government in Ekiti State. So that is in the person of Dr. Dele Olukotun.
It seems that we are having kind of a network challenge there.
From my end?
Yes, okay, it's clear now. All right, thank you for that brief intro about your background. Sir, at what point did you come to the knowledge of Christ? And what motivated you to do that?
Well, the truth is that I became born again into God's family on the 18th June 1979. When you talk about what motivated me into making decisions for Christ, I would say nothing than the fear of hellfire and the desire to go to heaven. That was after hearing the message of salvation that night, the night of 18th of June 1979. I just heard the sound of music in an open field during a crusade organized by a church, Christ Faith Church in Ibadan. I was attracted by the music actually, and I decided to branch to see what was going on. Getting there, I was hooked by the music and the message preached by the man of God then. I can never forget his name, Reverend Adiosun. That was how I stepped out of a crowd in response to the altar call for salvation. And to the glory of God, I got born again that night. As a matter of fact, I had 2 wraps of India hemp in my pocket. I was going to smoke that particular night. But to the glory of God, the India hemp I got addicted to for 5 years, I never took that 2 wrap. And that was the end of it. After 5 years of addiction to smoking India hemp. So that was how I got born again. That was how the journey of my life into the kingdom eventually began.
We thank God for that powerful and beautiful testimony. Your testimony, sir, is a proof that there is no life that God cannot save. He has the power to make sinner a saint. That is exactly what happened in your life, sir. Yes. And I also thank God for the godly music. You see, music has a great role to play, even in Christendom. But unfortunately today, we don't have much of this kind of a life transforming Christian music. But you see, most of our musicians today in the Christendom, they are doing what is called copycat. The originality is not found in some of them. But I just pray that a revival will take place in that angle of Christendom. Thank you, sir, for that beautiful testimony. Now, when you came to the knowledge of God through Christ Jesus, at what point did you discover that you are called into ministry? You know, it's not everybody that comes to the knowledge of God that is called into ministry. Some people are called into secular work, maybe in the banking industry, serving God with their calling there, making kingdom impact. Some in the business world. But at what point did you discover that you are called into ministry?
Well, thank you so much, Apostle. Well, to the glory of God, I can boldly say today that I did not just discover my call into the ministry straight from my salvation encounter like that. Rather, I can say that I grew through the ranks. I grew up through the ranks. What did I mean by growing through the rank? I began from joining a new believers school in that church. After that, I joined the music school of that church because it was music actually that attracted me into salvation, and I met Christ. So my desire, I had special passion for music. So I decided to join music school, organized by another ministry, but we were sponsored by the church. And I was trained in classical music. And after then, to the glory of God, after just 1 year or 2 years, I relocated to the northern part of the country in search of job opportunity after I graduated. Now, I joined the choir in my new location in Zaria, and I grew into becoming a Sunday school teacher. You can now understand that it didn't just start, boom, receiving call into the ministry. And eventually, I became a music director for the church under Bishop David Inzewi of Jesus People Evangelical Mission. I was a music director for 9 years. Subsequently, seeing the manifestation of God's grace upon my life, I was ordained in the same church, of course, but by Reverend Dr. O. Ezekiel of a blessed memory in 1983. That is 40 years ago. I was ordained, and I still maintain my music. I was still controlling the music department, yet I was ordained as a minister. And sometimes I was occasionally asked to preach on Sunday. From there, I started perceiving the call of God upon my life, and it was becoming so clear that I was going to leave my job one day, because I eventually got a job with the state government. And I knew one day I was going to leave this job and my career into full-time service in the kingdom. So I was so addicted to the things of God. I felt so much in love with the kingdom assignment that even my secular job, where I was already promoted and I was a head of department, I worked with Kaduna State government for 9 years. During this period, I became the head of department in my office. But I found more joy in the kingdom assignment than my paid job, because I was already preaching in the church and outside the church, being invited in churches for revival service, going around teaching choirs of churches on classical music as of then. And my church also was becoming #1 choir in the city because of God's grace upon my life in classical music. People come to worship in our church just because of the choir and because of the grace of God upon my life. And actually the equipment that attracted me to that crusade was a keyboard that we call it organ. It was that keyboard that that attracted me that day, and I decided to branch. I was actually on my way to smoking 2 wraps of India hemp for that night. And after I became born again, I got drawn to keyboard. So I went to train as a keyboardist, to learn how to play keyboard. And during this period, the conviction became stronger as I continued to serve God in different capacity in the church. But because of the juicy rewards coming from my job, the struggle became stronger. That was between 81 to 84. Even on my wedding day, on the 30th November 1985, after our wedding reception, as we got to my house with my new wife, while praying and thanking God for the success of our wedding, suddenly one of my men in suit, by name Brother Robinson, he was actually a young military officer, but he was one of my best men for the wedding. But he had grace in the prophetic. He confirmed while we were praying, he just confirmed, my full-time service right there through a prophetic, declaration. And it just came up while he was praying to thank God for our wedding. He just suddenly said, now the hour has come for you to start the assignment that I've given you. But that prophetic word did not go down well with me, because I knew I had struggle in my spirit. I knew the call of God was upon my life, and I know eventually I was going to go all out for the work. But for me I just waited the same day, and the prophetic word was coming out for me to go out. It didn't go well with me. So I didn't count it to be anything, and I still continue with the struggle, with my struggle with God. Why? I want to let you know the problem then was that how will I take care of my new wife? That was my question. In case I resign my appointment to go on full time. And to worsen my case during this period of inner struggles, I kept receiving promotion in my office. I worked for 9 years in that corporation. To the glory of God, I received promotion 7 times. The devil was just enticing me with those promotions, and it kept me holding on to my struggle. So I now later share my experience with my wife. And I thought she was going to join me in the struggle. Rather, my wife simply said, please, if God is calling you into the ministry fully, resign your job and let us go all out for the work. I told her that God was talking to me about going to Far North. And then during this period of struggles, my son of 2 years old fell into hot water. Of course, to the glory of God, he's a medical doctor today and is married.
Let's go for that.
And was hospitalized for 1 month. In a nutshell, I struggled this. And then the day my 7th promotion came, it was on the 2nd of February. I can never forget. And I took this promotion letter home. When I got home, I was sad instead of rejoicing. And I said, no, the hour has come truly. So that very night, I wrote my letter of resignation. And the following day, on the 3rd of February, I presented my letter of resignation to the corporation. And I was the head of department. It was shocking. As I got back to the office the following day, people were congratulating me. Suddenly, in less than 1 hour, the news circulated around the whole corporation of almost 400 staff. Right there, they started hearing, Dele has resigned. Dele has resigned. They couldn't understand why. And eventually, to the glory of God, I had no choice but to come out. And on the 8th of April, 1990, I totally came out and I resigned, and I was my resignation letter was accepted. And in my church, I was struggle too, because they never wanted to release me because I was profitable to the church, especially through the music department of the church. So, but to the glory of God, just to cut the story short, I had to resign. And by God's grace, Bishop David, the president of a church, the bishop of a church, eventually sent me and my wife forth. By then, we had 2 children already. 2 children. My wife was pregnant of the 3rd one, and we had to leave all the way from Zaria. We moved to Maiduguri, where we started our ministry on the 31st of May, 1990. That was when we entered fully into 30th of April, 1990, and that was how we entered into the full-time ministry, and that was how the journey began. I thank God I eventually obeyed the Lord and moved into the ministry. So that was how the journey started. I actually had struggles also.
What a great journey.